Who would have thought Hayward has a gay prom?
I know it's going to be a really fun night. You know, it's just going to be a safe space where people can come and dance and just be themselves and know that they're not going to get discriminated by other people.
Tired, excited, nervous. This is like my second year at prom, so it's another experience.
But what I'm doing right now is I'm actually fixing the boxes for the king and queen for tonight so people can vote. And actually, last year when it was my first time here at the gay prom, I was king, which I was really happy about because I never thought that I would actually get king. But, you know, it's something that I really cherished that I got, and people loved me, and it was really nice. It was a really nice feeling.
Yeah, I think I might have to cut them.
It's important to me because it's a place where I can be myself.
I'm volunteering. This is my first year. I expect a bunch of wild, carefree kids getting ready to have a good time.
If you think about how the gay prom got started, you really have to go back to the beginning of the Lambda Youth Group. And that was started by a counselor named Ken Athey, who was working for Project Eden at that time, doing group counseling with young people. Ken was a gay man and had the courage to step out and organize a group specifically for gay and lesbian youth. That was Lambda Youth Group, put it together. Out of that, and Ken's concern, the prom was born.
I didn't know what the risks were going to be of starting the prom. That was the issue. We just went in deciding we were going to have a dance for gay youth and provide a safe place for them to have that dance. It turned into a lot more than that.
At the time of the first prom, or around the whole Lambda Youth Group thing, I was living in Union City. I was out of the closet. I was 19, and I had just graduated that previous summer, and I actually lived in Fresno. And I moved up to San Jose to move in with my sister, just kind of get out of the small town, because in small towns you can't be gay. I discovered Lambda from a friend of mine who had actually discovered it, and he had found it to help me so I could, you know, make friends and help with the whole coming out process, because it was still fairly fresh, still really new for me. I came into Lambda Youth Group, and I attended there for about a year, and that's when everything started happening. We started talking about prom and doing this gay prom. And I was fortunate and lucky to be one of the first ones, you know, that actually got involved in that. It was just a wonderful memory for me to always remember and always know that I was part of something new, something different in the Bay Area.
Back in 1994, I was a queer youth going to the Lighthouse Community Center and going to Lambda Youth Group. And so I was an attendee at the first prom, and I was also already a journalist back then, so I was also taking notes and covering the prom for the Examiner. I went into it thinking, why do we need this? This is cliche. This is like, you know, the Brat Pack movies and stuff. Do we really need proms to be proud of who we are and to be accepted in the world and to accept ourselves? But by going, I realized the answer is yes. Everyone should have access to silly proms. Like, they are silly, or they can be silly, and they can be trivial, but gay kids deserve things to be silly and trivial as much as everybody else. They shouldn't have to always be serious and fighting for their rights. They should be able to chill out and have fun and get dressed up and flirt.
The feeling that I got when I actually went to the gay prom, it was just a sense of pride and acceptance. My family knew about it, and they knew my partner that I met here. It was exciting to like get dressed and just like help each other get dressed and like just trying to pick out what we were gonna wear. Are we gonna match? We're not gonna match, you know, be corny like that. It was just like your heart is beating and you're excited, and it's just like, finally, you know, I get to just, this is what I've always wanted to do.
So it seems to me that the gay prom is useful in kind of in comparison to a straight prom, in that the straight prom functions as an important kind of rite of passage, you know, sort of a ritualized event for kids who are kind of, figuring out who they are, and part of who they are is the expression of their gender and sexual identity, and the prom functions as one of these, kind of highly ritualized moments where you actually kind of accomplish this, performance.
They didn't name it the gay prom by accident. It wasn't the gay dance. They were going to appropriate, dominant terminology, have it right near the end of school, and give the youth a chance to have their prom. Because, of course, a lot of straight folks don't realize that the prom is really the straight prom.
There was a lot of concern and worry and doubt going into the project of trying to make the first prom come about.
The gay kids were getting harassed in school, both by fellow students and teachers and staff of the schools.
I was perceived to be gay, a little sissy boy from kindergarten on, and so I was always being teased for being a sissy, and then by the time I got to be about 10 or 11, I was being called faggot every day. Back in 1994, Clinton had just been elected, and gay youth was really a new term. Like that, there was an idea, the idea that kids would come out at all was so new that there weren't even words for it. So being involved right then when the words were happening and when assembly bills were being passed for the first time to protect gay kids, I'm really grateful that I was part of that process.
When you're growing up and you're gays and you're alone, sometimes you think you're the only gay person on this planet. Especially if you have nobody to talk to or compare notes to.
Does it take courage to, to go to gay prom? I think you do really need some type of courage to actually expose yourself and go to gay prom.
It's really a sad thing that any kid should, at the time when they're just discovering who they are, suddenly they have to explain who they are to the world. Kids shouldn't have to do that. They should have adults advocating for them.
Why it wasn't held anywhere else I can't answer, but why it was held in Hayward is because there were enough people in key positions who cared enough about the kids and about inclusion and about democracy to allow the event to happen.
I think every time most of us got a call to action, we showed up. Without any question, we were there. And I think that was very important to gay prom. If we hadn't showed up, there probably had never been a gay prom. We have never got the funding for it. But making ourselves seen and being vocal about it, speaking up and speaking out, I think that helped a lot.
I think the pivotal moment was the city council meeting when the city council had to decide whether to fund the project or not. And that included the presence of the police officers to keep it safe and allowing the prom to happen on city property. Historically, the police and the gay and lesbian community had been at odds. Even in Hayward, there was a lot of thought that the gay bars in downtown Hayward were picked on unnecessarily and treated unfairly. But for the police department to be able to step up and be part of the gay prom and not only allow the gay and lesbian officers to support it, but to have uniformed officers, straight men in uniform, there supporting the prom, and to have the police chief say, I support the prom, I'm going to have my personnel there. I think that it sent the message to the gay community that we had changed, that we are here to support you, and that we are here to make sure that you're safe, just like every other member of this community.
We went to the Hayward City Council and were able to, among others, we were able to encourage them to grant $13,000, and that was the seed money, I think, that got started.
Wow, that city council meeting was amazing. I ran the gamut of emotions, from frustration and hurt to such pride in our community leaders as city council member after city council member and then the mayor spoke in favor of supporting the gay and lesbian community, supporting the kids in our community, and supporting the gay prom.
I don't think we were at all hesitant about being supportive. When I say we, the council and I. But it brought out the most ugly, vile comments. And there's always a hate element in any community. And all you have to do is strike a match and they're like flies that gather around it. And they're awful. Just as flies can be so annoying, these people could not only be annoying, they could be disgusting.
the negative responses were very hurtful to the community as well as to many of the individuals, myself included. I mean, I still remember sitting in the audience at that first city council meeting when the city council of Hayward was trying to decide whether to provide funding or partial funding to the prom, and having people in the audience, calling us sinners. And it was really hard. It was hard to be a police officer in the community, somebody who puts my life on the line, and to be, called a sinner in that way.
I just think that those people who actually use those type of vocabulary aren't like mature enough to realize how much damage it causes other people.
I had prepared remarks because I was supposed to be one of the speakers, and as it turned out, I didn't use any of them. What I said to the council was, you've asked us, every time we come and we bring recommendations, one of you will ask, how do you know? How do you know that this is really an issue, or this is really where we put money? And I said, you can't ask me that tonight. I want to thank the people who've come in opposition because they have demonstrated exactly what you need to know and why you need to give money to this group. And they did. I think people who were just kind of neutral about the whole thing, it's not my issue, were appalled at the opposition and the way they conducted themselves against a group which was basically our children.
When the vote came down and the city council at that time decided to use city funding to fund a portion of it, of the gay prom, and use city police officers to basically be a security force that's not, unpaid security force basically to do the event. As in a democracy, we lost the vote in that sense. I mean, at least when I say lost, some people would say they won the vote. So, I mean, again, in a democracy, it's what side you're looking at it on. At the time, I was a City of Hayward employee, a member of the police department, but also a resident of Hayward. And because of that, I felt it was a misuse of our city monies to put it toward a gay prom. And it wasn't the gay prom in particular that I was against, although I had some reservations about that, but just some of the ways it was being run and also the precedent that it was setting as a city getting involved in private matters.
Arriving at the prom, it had its joy and it also had bitter moments because, of course, up front there were people who are completely against it.
There were signs, saying that we were sinners, we're going to hell, we should repent now, all that kind of stuff. I had never seen that before. I had only seen that on TV or the news. So seeing it in person, it was scary. It was uncomfortable.
And the rubber gloves that these dreadful people wore, like somehow being gay or lesbian, was contagious. So I don't want to touch you, so I'll put on rubber gloves. So even if I have contact with you, I won't catch what you have.
That was painful because it just kind of killed that joy of wanting to get there, to be received with such negative words and such negative vibes. It was very painful.
Well, we're making a stand against evil. We're making a stand against the tragedy which is enveloping our nation. As our sign says, one of our signs says, homosexuality is not a genetic matter of physical DNA. People are not born homosexual. They're produced homosexual by the corruption of their family, by the collapse of the family unit. And so the homosexual movement is dedicated to not correcting that aspect of where people are fractured internally to become homosexual, but they're dedicated to multiplying that internal poison and spreading it to everyone else that they can, especially the children.
We live in the USA and it's a free country, free speech, but also I just think that those people that actually get the time and come to gay prom to protest, I just think they really have no life, because why are you just gonna be there and ruin someone's special moment, a place where they can be safe and just be who they are, and you just coming and trying to ruin it for their time. Would you want someone to protest in your prom just because of your skin color or something that you didn't choose to be and that's who you really are?
I remember just holding on to my girlfriend's hand at the time. I personally was terrified, and I'm sure that she was too, but just we knew we had each other and just walk through that line of people and get to those stairs.
For many years we've been playing outside the front of the prom venue, playing to greet the kids and make the events feel like a celebration. One of the cool things about this event is the fact that when it first started and the protesters were outside, apparently when this happened, the neighbors in the area around Centennial Hall where it was first happening, they saw that what was happening. They saw the signs, they saw the protesters, and they got really upset.
And they saw that horrendous pack of religious, misguided folks, and they went home and they made their own signs, and they came back, and it's like, kids have fun, you know, and stuff. And so and that was the beginning of the counter protest.
The person who actually first contacted me to say, look, we need help next year, we need music, we need to make it more of a celebration again, was actually the neighbors and not the organizers of the prom. And so I just think it's a really cool statement that this community banded together and wanted to support the event and support the kids.
And it was awesome, because every time the protesters tried to shout some hateful, awful thing, the band would just chime in with this upbeat, wonderful song to escort the kids into the event.
I haven't done a formal count, but it seems like there could be fewer protesters every year.
The first year I went, there were so many that made me escorted in by bouncers. This was 2 years ago. It was pretty scary. It is kind of weird having a bunch of protesters at a prom, and it seems kind of ridiculous. But it's also nice because along with all the protesters, I still get to see all the people who are there to support me against it. My girlfriend and I at the time had forgotten to bring our camera, so I called Mom and asked her if she can drive down and bring it down. As I was coming out to meet her and get the camera, and Mom was like approaching the area, and she was just, you know, flabbergasted and just so upset by, you know, what she was seeing. And, you know, I think she, you know, yelled at them a couple of times and said, you know, that's not very Christian of you, and, you know, she's a Christian too, and, you know, you got to treat these kids with love and acceptance. And but it disturbed her. I mean, for me, watching it, it was just like, oh, Mom, you know what I mean? She's just standing up to it too, and it was just an awesome feeling.
Sometimes when you're having a hard day or having a hard moment where you do feel that homophobia hit sometimes, you remember how strong you felt and how strong you were when there was people around you that completely supported you and that you weren't alone. I remember it, and it was just, it helps me every day when I feel like there's an issue or I have an issue or I feel like someone's not accepting me for who I am. I remember, like, I was a teenager and I went through this and I got through it. I can get through this as an adult.
The fact that there were gay adults who were standing up for us and who were providing models of the gay adults that we could be, and who were letting us have the prom that they didn't have, it felt really safe. And I was able to be cliche and ridiculous and silly and all the things that you should be able to be at your prom.
For me, it was a great opportunity to be a role model to the kids who would be going to the prom. I struggled with my sexual orientation and identity, I think, a lot more than the kids that at least got to see the people supporting them at the prom, who were police officers and teachers and city council members and business people and musicians and reporters. It was just a very different experience, and for me, I was really happy to be part of it.
We were just at his prom earlier this year, like about a couple weeks back, and even though people thought that, you know, they're okay with him being gay, he still got the dirtiness, he still got the persecution, and the gay promise. So, you know, you could have, you know,
people are free to be yourself here, no matter if you look down upon, like regular society and regular prom does.
And I care for like regular proms at my high school. I went to it my senior year. just wasn't the same. So, I mean, it's like a place where I could be myself and be around youth that's more like me. So I'd have to pretend to be something I'm not, and being around like strict regulations, like how it is at a regular prom.
I was thinking about taking a boy to my hair at High Prom, but I would have, I just wanted to make my mom happy. And so, that's when I decided I'll just take, a girl and I'll take a friend and, I'll feel comfortable. And yeah, that's like one of the main reasons, just to make my mom happy and like show her the photo, that I went with a girl, so.
I attended my prom in high school, but it was not the same. I went with my best friend to hide that, and my girlfriend went with her best friend to hide it. And I mean, even though we attended the prom together, it's like we didn't take pictures together. It was kind of like pictures as a group to just keep it hidden. It was very challenging. It was very hard and very sad to see the couples, taking their picture and being happy, and you couldn't do it. And when I attended this prom, I was open. I was with my partner. It was the most beautiful thing to stand there and take a picture of the prom with the actual person you wanted to go there with.
How would you say it? My mom was afraid that we would get bullied. Yeah. So we didn't go to our high school prom or senior prom.
Out in the outside world, the real world, everyone assumes you're straight. But when you're here, it's reverse. Everyone assumes you're gay.
I wanted a place where I was open to be who I was and dance with people I wanted without getting insulted and yelled at for dancing with someone of the same sex and gender.
I'm excited. I'm excited that I'm living in a time where my grandchildren, should they be gay, can come out without fear. I didn't come out until I was 50 years old because fear kept me from doing that. When I was a teenager, we didn't have anywhere to go or any place to find answers. So I'm thrilled with this.
Do a queer rainbow game at my booth for the Pacific Center. We educate LGBTIQA youngsters on the history of queer peoples through a history that, and when they come to our table excited and they see that, they're basketball players and football players and just not hair designers, they're movie stars that are queer.
I have a sister who's gay. She didn't come out until she was 52. Even though we come from a very loving and supportive family, she was raised as I was to believe that she was either a criminal or she was mentally ill.
The first time that I told my mom about my sexual preference was in middle school in 8th grade. She thought that it was only a phase of mine and that I would get over it, and that if she wanted me to, she'll take me to the doctors with the psychologist to see if I was confused or if I wanted any medicine. I was like, no, I'm fine. I know that I'm not, I'm okay. I'm not, it's not a disease that I have or anything. It's just, I just have a different sexual preference than other people. And it's still taking her time. I can tell that she's actually a little bit getting more into her head that that's actually my sexual preference.
Most queer youth I know today don't have to go through the same level of harassment that I did, even if they live in small towns in the Midwest. I lived in the Bay Area and I was getting death threats and harassment. So that's more rare, but it's not gone. and it's still there for the kids who are the fags and the dykes, the kids who are sissies and tomboys. Those are the ones who are still being harassed, and the kids who fit in better or who can seem more mainstream are having it better, but there's still a lot of kids who are being picked on. And even though more of them are bringing same-sex dates to their school proms, it's still a radical act to do that.
To go to the straight prom as a same-sex couple is like a political act rather than a social act, you know, rather than about kind of flirting and romance and courtship and fun. It would more be like kind of steeling yourself up for a great act of courage.
When anybody goes to their prom with a date, they should just be having fun. They shouldn't be having to make a political statement to do it. And as long as there's a world where you're being radical and political by going to a prom, you should have a safe place to have your prom.
How wonderful it is to have a band of adults and within the LGBT community, the queer community, say, we love you and welcome, and there's many of us out there who are older, and we are so proud of you. I feel good about that, but it also hurts in terms of the kids who wanted to come, who texted me today that said, there's no way that my mom and my dad don't let me out the house. I worry about who gets in trouble every day at school because they're not going to take any bullying, and they'll say, I'll beat you down if you call me a dyke, or I'll beat you down if you call me a fag. I think of some who have so much hope to be here. One who emailed me today that said, well, maybe next year, if you can call my mother and I can call their parents to talk to their parents. Parents can't let them out. And I worry that if they can't make it to this, that one day, will they become a statistic?
In 8th grade, like, I didn't have any support, and also I was having other family problems, and I literally felt like I had no meaning in life. So I attempted suicide, you know. It was a dumb thing now that I think about it, but, you know, I got over it. I can see that life is actually getting better, and, you know, now that I've come out, it's just, I feel like a ton of weight has lifted off my shoulders.
The community would be different without gay prom. I think it was a big step to raise an awareness in the community that would not have happened.
Integrating the proms and not having it be separate would be, I guess, ideal, and it would be a dream for a lot of teenagers to be able to go to your own high school, your own colors, your own pride, your classmates, your friends that you've been through high school for years. Of course, it's a dream to any teenager that actually wants to attend the prom to be able to walk in there with pride with your partner. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen all the time, and not everywhere. So that's why there's gay prom.
And it's still going on. So that says to me that the issue isn't resolved. If the issue were resolved, those young people would be able to go to their school dances with the partner of their choice, would be able to attend a prom and have all the fun and glitz and expense that prom requires. The fact that it's still going on says we haven't resolved it.
You know, I don't know if it's at a point of need anymore. I think it's a point of want now. I think that the youth want and like having that space, if that makes sense. I think they can go to their own prom if they like, but I think that there's also a lot of younger kids that are coming up that'll have an opportunity. It's also kind of a way to come out, so now it's a safe place to go and hear dance music, to go dance with other people.
But it seems very important to be able to protect that space for as long as it's useful to the youth who are attending it.
I think that gay prom in Hayward is a perfect example of democracy in action in our country. It started as a small idea. There were a lot of obstacles, but people knew that the inclusion that it would bring about would be good for the community as a whole. And it was, because in the beginning it was a really big event. Now it's a non-event. And that's the biggest compliment, I think, to the event and to the people who put on the event and attend the event, because we are part of society. We are just like our neighbor.
To me, whenever a group of people assert their right to, you know, free speech and freedom of expression and, you know, freedom from danger, that is us enjoying what democracy really can be.
Absolutely. It represents the democratic ideal to the hilt. It's what democracy is supposedly supposed to be about, and it's taking nice words and putting them into action. And some people don't like that, and they use democracy too and express their disapproval, and we'll see who comes out ahead in the long run. I hope that democracy, I hope that equality, I hope that freedom, I hope that love triumphs. Call me an old-fashioned fuddy-duddy, I think we have a chance. Go gay prom, go LGBT rights, go equality.